The Battle of Dagorlad, the turning point of the Second Age. The Battle of Dagorlad stands as one of the most defining events in the history of Middle-earth. Taking place during the Second Age, it marked the moment when the combined forces of the Last Alliance of Elves and Men clashed with the dark armies of Sauron on the expansive plains outside the Black Gate of Mordor. This is the story of courage, sacrifice, and the unyielding determination of free peoples who dared to challenge the Dark Lord at the height of his power. 1. The prelude to war, the rise of darkness. The roots of the Battle of Dagorlad stretched back centuries. Sauron, once a lieutenant of Morgoth, had grown in power after his master's defeat in the First Age. Disguised as Anatar, the Lord of Gifts, he deceived the elves into forging the Rings of Power. In secret, Sauron created the One Ring to dominate the others. When his treachery was revealed, the elves hid their 3 rings, igniting a conflict that spanned centuries. By the end of the Second Age, Sauron had consolidated his power in Mordor, constructing Barad-dûr and amassing a massive army. His forces ravaged the lands of Middle-earth, subjugating men and slaughtering elves. The kingdoms of Men, Gondor and Arnor, bore the brunt of his wrath but could not stand alone. The last alliances forged, in the face of annihilation, Gil-galad, High King of the Elves, and Elendil, leader of the Dunedain, forged an unprecedented alliance. This last alliance united the free peoples of Middle-earth, elves, men, and dwarves. Even the Ents stirred in their ancient forests, and the great eagles surveyed the battlefield from above. Preparation for war was long and arduous. Gil-galad's armies from Lindon marched eastward, joined by elves from Lorien and Rivendell. Elendil brought warriors from Arnor and Gondor, while his sons, Isildur and Anarion, took command of vital strongholds. Dwarves from Khazad-dûm and the Blue Mountains lent their axes to the cause, knowing that Sauron's dominion would spare no one. 2. The march to Mordor, crossing the Dead Marshes. The journey to Mordor was perilous. The combined forces of the Last Alliance, numbering in the tens of thousands, traversed harsh terrains and hostile lands. As they approached Mordor, they passed through the Dead Marshes, a desolate expanse filled with the ghosts of an ancient battle. Soldiers whispered of strange lights and eerie voices that seemed to beckon them into the murky waters. Here, morale faltered. The weight of what lay ahead bore heavily on the hearts of the soldiers. Yet, the leaders, Gil-galad, Elendil, and Elrond, spoke words of encouragement, reminding their troops of the stakes: freedom from tyranny or eternal darkness. The Black Gate. Arriving at the plains of Dagorlad, the Last Alliance beheld the Black Gate of Mordor for the first time. It was a colossal structure of iron and stone, flanked by jagged peaks and guarded by countless orcs. Beyond it lay the volcanic wasteland of Mordor, its skies choked with ash and its air heavy with malice. Sauron's forces were already assembled. The Dark Lord had summoned legions of orcs, trolls, and men from the east and south, bolstered by wargs and fell beasts. It was a display of overwhelming might, a testament to Sauron's ambition to rule all of Middle-earth. The battle unfolds. The first assault. The battle began with a thunderous roar as the forces of the Last Alliance charged across the plain. Elves with their precision archery unleashed a storm of arrows, cutting through the ranks of orcs. Men followed with swords and shields, their battle cries echoing across the battlefield. Sauron's army retaliated with ferocity. Trolls wielding massive clubs smashed through lines of soldiers, while siege engines hurled boulders and flaming projectiles. The ground itself seemed to tremble under the weight of the conflict. Gil-galad and Elendil led from the front, their presence inspiring their troops. Gil-galad wielded Aeglos, his legendary spear, while Elendil's sword, Narsil, shone with a light that cut through the darkness. The tide turns. As the battle raged on, the forces of the Last Alliance began to falter. The sheer number of Sauron's troops threatened to overwhelm them. It was then that the dwarves, led by Durrant's line, launched a surprise flank attack. With their unmatched strength and resilience, they created a breach in the enemy's formation, allowing the elves and men to regroup. The turning point, the fall of Anarion, Elendil's youngest son, played a crucial role in the battle. Commanding the defenses of Gondor, he led a contingent of troops against a host of trolls and Southrons. His bravery was unmatched. But he was struck down by a massive projectile, his loss felt deeply by his father and brother. This tragedy fueled Isildur's determination. He swore to avenge his brother and bring an end to Sauron's reign. Sauron enters the fray. As the battle reached its zenith, Sauron himself emerged. Towering over the battlefield, clad in black armor and wreathed in flame, he was a figure of pure terror. With the One Ring on his finger, he wielded immense power, striking down soldiers with each sweep of his mace. Gil-galad and Elendil faced Sauron directly. The clash between them was monumental, shaking the ground and filling the air with blinding light. Though they fought valiantly, both were mortally wounded. The victory and the cost, the shattering of Narsil. In a final act of defiance, Isildur took up the hilt of his father's shattered sword, Narsil. With a desperate strike, he cut the One Ring from Sauron's hand, severing the Dark Lord's connection to his physical form. Sauron was defeated, his armies scattered, and his Tower of Barad-dûr left in ruins. The aftermath, though victorious, the cost of the battle was staggering. Thousands lay dead, including many of the greatest leaders of the Free Peoples. The plains of Dagorlad were littered with the fallen, their sacrifice ensuring a future free from Sauron's tyranny. Isildur claimed the ring as a token of his victory but refused to destroy it. This decision would sow the seeds for future conflict, as the ring's corrupting influence would endure. The legacy of Dagorlad, the Battle of Dagorlad, was a turning point in Middle-earth's history. It demonstrated the strength of unity among elves, men, and dwarves and the lengths to which they would go to preserve their freedom. Though the war ended with Sauron's defeat, the scars of the battle would linger for generations. The story of Dagorlad became a legend, a reminder of the courage and sacrifice required to stand against the darkness.